Live from the beautiful sun-kissed island of Kauai, it's Animal Talking. Today, join Gary and his guests, David Mandel and Rebekah Valentine. And now, because this sure beats contemplating his utter insignificance in relation to the universe, here's your host, Gary Whitta!
That's right. That's right. My goodness. Let's get that jukebox running here. Here we go. Where are we? There we go. That's what I like to hear. What are you doing? Adam, stop it. Can't control yourself. My goodness.
I was playing the drums.
I know it's Friday, but my goodness. TGIF, sir. Happy Friday to you. How was your week?
It has been utterly exhausting.
I'm feeling you, buddy. Is it utterly exhausting for the same reason it's been utterly exhausting for me? Is this talk show related?
Oh, most definitely. And it's show and real job.
Wait, what's a real job? I've lost all concept of what that is.
You had one at one point.
Long ago I had a real job that actually paid me money, as opposed to this. I don't know what this is. It is Friday, and it's a very special Friday, Adam, because it is. I just decided this morning. Everything that happens on this show is kind of completely arbitrary. And what I have arbitrarily decided this morning is that today, our 15th episode, seems as good an episode as any. Our 15th episode is our season 1 finale. What do you think about that?
Very
Season
nice.
1 finale, and we're going to go out big. We're going to go out big with some big guests. We have some great guests lined up for you today. Comedy legend David Mandel from Seinfeld and SNL, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Veep. He's going to be here in just a moment. And then the wonderful Rebekah Valentine, ace games industry reporter, is going to be here as well. And I'm very excited to have her join us on the show too. And that's going to be our season 1 finale. And then we're going to take a break. It's only a short break. Don't worry, Animal Talking stands and fans, wherever you are. We're only going to be away for about a week. And we're going to be back. We're going to take that week-long hiatus just to kind of reset, recharge our batteries, get back in the game. Don't worry, we're not going anywhere. We're going to take a week off, give you a break as well. We've been doing 3 shows a week. We did 4 shows a week last week. It's too much, Adam. It's too much. We got to chill. We got to chill. And then we'll be back in June for season 2, and then we'll be on a regular schedule of doing just 1 show a week, and that will enable me to not have a nervous breakdown, and it will also enable all of us to put more effort into each show and really get this show where we want it to be in terms of the show is a constant work in progress. As I've said many times, we're kind of building the airplane while it's in the air. And we want season 2. Season 1's been amazing, and it's going to end on a great note with David and Rebekah as wonderful guests. But we want season 2 to be even bigger and better, and that means taking a week off just to kind of do everything we want to do. And we're going to be back with some amazing things. First week in June, we're back. Danny's Diary. We're going to be working. Danny Trejo is going to be doing a regular segment on the show, as you know. We're going to be we'll probably kick that off first week in June. Very excited about Danny's Diary. Really can't wait to show you some of that. Do I have the little logo? Do I still have the logo for that? Let's see if we can run it right now. We do. Oh wait, hold on. It's not where it needs to be. Hold on a second. Here's where it needs to be. Wait, that's not it either. God damn it. Hold on. Here we go. So Danny's Diary is something we're obviously very, very excited about. That's going to be coming in June. That's going to be part of our season 2 upgrade package. We're getting a glow up, Adam. Season 2 is getting a glow up, and part of that glow up is going to be Danny Trejo's diary on the show. Cannot wait to get into that. I believe that you are planning to visit Danny's Island as early as next week to start recording some footage. Is that correct?
That is correct. I'm very excited, and we have a lot of ground to cover when I get there.
Oh my God, I can't wait. I'm actually kind of envious of you. I'm only going to get to see the footage. You actually get to go and hang out with Danny on his island as our roving reporter. That's going to be so exciting. I'm very, 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 very psyched for you. And yeah, and as I say, a little bit jealous. And then of course the other thing that we want to do in season 2 is bring even bigger and bigger guests. We don't want to get carried away with the celebrity guests, and it's very important to me that even as we continue to book these bigger and bigger guests, everybody wants a piece of this show, Adam. As The Verge said, 2020's hottest talk show. And as you know, we were just in. Let me see if I can pull this up. Where are we? Let's find this real quick. Yeah, here we are. Oh yeah, I got to pull it because it's great. Here we are in no less a publication than Variety. Variety, the Hollywood newspaper. How Star Wars writer Gary Whitta used Animal Crossing to make a talk show sensation. That is amazing. Like, look at that. We've been in The Verge, we've been in Entertainment Weekly, we've been in Newsweek, we've been in The Washington Post, and now here we are in Variety. My goodness, the hype train. There's actually a literal hype train running in the chat right now. I mean, there's just no stopping this train, Adam. Choo choo. Let's get some. You've got some choo choo emotes. Let's see them in the chat. And you're gonna want to blow off those choo choo emotes in just a moment because we do have a big announcement coming up about season 2.
Oh yes.
Don't worry, we're not selling the show to Viacom and put it behind a paywall. If I ever do that, slap me in the face. That's not going to happen. One thing I can promise you is this show will always be free to everyone. Said many times. I've said many times. We're never gonna monetize this show beyond already kind of automatically happens behind the scenes with Twitch and YouTube. There's never going to be corporate sponsors on this show. You're never going to have to pay to see this show.
Unless
that is my pledge to you. Unless what, Adam? Unless what?
Unless there is one sponsor you would take on. Oh
well, Adam, I'm going to get to that. As I said, it's very important to me that we keep it real, even as bigger and bigger guests come on the show. And it's wonderful that we have these big celebrity guests. And there's going to be a lot of announcements about really cool guests coming up on the show in the weeks ahead. And I've got one big announcement to actually make in just a few moments that we're going to get to very, very quickly. But it's also very important to me that as we continue to kind of like rise up the celebrity rankings here, that this show also remained true to the spirit in which it started, which is like it's just about me hanging out with my friends. And like in season 2, you might see a mega celebrity guest on the show, but right next to that celebrity guest is going to be someone you've probably never heard of, but they're just someone that I like and think is cool. And I think that's really, really important that we continue to keep it real in that regard. But let's get to the announcement. I don't want to keep you waiting any longer. I don't want to keep David and Rebekah waiting any longer. I can't wait to have them on the show and talk to them, get them here on the couch. We'll be gone next week. We'll be back next week with season 2 with our biggest guest yet. And I'm going to drop the announcement now. And I just want to say to you, I swear I am not making this up. Obviously, I would be in trouble if I would like making this up. I'm not making this up. We'll be back on June 1st, one show a week. And, we love musical guests on the show. They've been one of our, we've had the Dapper Rapper, Raquel Lilly, Ryan Miller, all wonderful, wonderful musical guests. Today, I announce that starting in June, we have the dates. We're just figuring out the times. The dates are confirmed as of this morning. Oh, sorry. And of course, Very Handsome Billy. We've had amazing musical guests on this show. T-Pain, of course, an incredible musical guest. We love musical guests. In June, to roll out season 2, we're going to have our biggest guests yet. And they will not only be coming on the couch and talking to us, they will also be performing new material, which they have recorded and are arranging exclusively for Animal Talking. In June, Shaggy, June 1st, will be on the show. And on June 8th, Sting will be here live on the show, performing live. And I am not making this up, Adam. It's all happening. It's all happening. Shaggy, June 1st, Sting, June 8th. And they are both in their studios right now working on new material that they are going to debut exclusively on Animal Talking. And I couldn't be more excited about it. I still can't believe this is happening, but this is the level that we're at now, Adam. Animal Talking is going into the celebrity stratosphere. What do you think about all this?
See the look on my face?
Hold on, I gotta do the same one. Hold on, let me do it. There we go. Yeah, it's
what the hell happened?
Yeah, it's pretty shocking. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, dude. 3 weeks ago, we were sitting here with like Leah and her friend Tanya and just our friends, and less than a month later, we have some of the biggest musical stars on the planet are going to be here live on the show. And I couldn't be more excited about it. It's gonna be nutty. I'm not even looking at the chat right now because I don't want to get carried away. I'll go back and look at the chat when I review the VOD. But yeah, we'll have times. We'll have specific times for you nearer the time. We'll be promoting this more as we get closer to this. But Shaggy will be here June 1st. I believe that is what is that? I can't remember what date it is. I think it's a Friday. And Sting will be here on June 8th. So we're very excited about that. Ooh, I actually killed the logo by saying I need to kill the Sting promo. So yeah, very excited to have Shaggy on the show. Very excited to have Sting. Very excited to hear the music they're going to be performing for us. Really, really exciting stuff. But allow me, again, that's all in the future. And by the way, Adam, I do think that this is I think this might finally put us over the top with Nabisco. I think that chicken and a biscuit endorsement now, surely the good people at Nabisco are going to call me. Or maybe just like a big truckload of chicken and a biscuit will arrive on my doorstep, this weekend. They're like, we got to be a part of this. We want that big Sting energy.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what they want. Oh, they're Mondays? Okay. I don't know what day of the week. I don't know what days of the week things are anymore. I couldn't tell you what day. I honestly don't know what day it is right now. It's Friday, right? It's Friday? I don't hold me to that. I don't know what's going on. Look, we've kept him waiting long enough. I'm really excited to talk to him. He's a good friend of mine. He's one of the funniest people I know. I'm really, really excited to have him here on the show. I believe that he is in position and ready to go. He's at the top of the stairs waiting to join us on the show. He's a tremendously talented comedian and comedy writer. And he's joining us today on the show. So glad to have him. His credits include, listen to this, Adam, Comedy Royalty, Saturday Night Live, Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Veep. Basically all my favorite comedy shows of all time. This man is,
I've never heard of
a
any
hand
of
in all of them. Please welcome to the show, David Mandel. Here he is. Take a bow. Take a flourish. There you go. I love it. David Mandel, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Hi.
I love it.
This is very weird and bizarre and wonderful.
Do you have any idea what you've gotten yourself into here? And it's okay if you don't, because I barely understand what's going on most of the time myself.
I managed to kill a few people about a month ago and get a copy of the game for my kids.
That's what it takes.
Yes, exactly. And then I have watched your show. But I am regretting these decisions. But anyway, no, I'm very excited.
And by the way, as always, because David wasn't able to get access to a copy of Animal Crossing, we did the little bit of magic that we do here. We're speaking to him live via Discord right now, but it's Leah. This is so weird. That's actually Leah. That's my wife sitting on the couch, who has undergone digital cosmetic surgery to look like David Mandel. As always, Leah, wonderful work with the digital cosmetic surgery. Wonderful work with the remote avatar puppeteering. Let's have a shout out for Leah. David, one of the reasons why I'm excited to have you on the show is because this whole show, I'm kind of a talk show nerd. I love Leno and Letterman and that whole classic tradition. The Larry Sanders Show is my favorite show of all time. This whole enterprise here is basically kind of a loving tribute, an homage, if you will, to one of the cornerstones of American popular culture, which is the late night talk show. And in talking to you in preparation for this, I discovered that you are a fellow talk show nerd. You said you were obsessed with David Letterman growing up. Is that right?
Yeah, I grew up in New York City and did not have much of a bedtime, and I was just Letterman. Oh, sorry, that's my dog. I was Letterman. I was Letterman. Oh, Jesus, I was Letterman just every night. I stayed up every night, and it really, for me, I guess I was, the two jobs I ever wanted in life was Saturday Night Live or Letterman. I managed to get Saturday Night Live, but a couple of years ago on I don't think I even told you this on Veep. We actually did a bit where Selena went on to a talk show to promote her book. And for one brief shining moment, we had this crazy idea. What if in the alternate Veep universe, Letterman had gotten the Tonight Show? And so we actually reached out to Letterman to see if he wanted to do Veep. And it was the coolest thing in the world. He turned us down, but I got to get on the phone with him, and he was a huge Veep fan, and it was really exciting. And he liked the fake bit that we wrote for him. So I felt like in some way I actually had I managed to work for him without working for him. And then we actually got Adam Scott to play the role. But anyway, if you watch that section, it is a loving tribute to everything I love about talk shows, especially Letterman, the way he kind of, dare I say, sort of resented being there and sometimes often disliked his guests, which
much like myself. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. I found just beyond fascinating.
So even though he didn't do the bit, you kind of got like a little tip of the hat from him. So that must have
Hey,
been
look,
just that
man,
alone.
you tell yourself what you need to get through the night. Maybe he hated us, and thought it was a bad joke. But as far as I'm concerned, he loved it and really wanted to do it, and thought I was really brilliant. So, and would have hired me. So I'm sticking with that story. Yeah.
Letterman was always the cool one, right? When it was between Leno and Letterman. Letterman was always where the cool.
When Letterman ended his run on NBC, I was living in New York, and I went to one of the, not the last show, but one of the almost last shows. And I was watching them just nonstop. And there's a moment in one of those last shows where I think he had Bruce Springsteen on, and he's about to say, to the crowd, we've got this amazing surprise. And the crowd just goes crazy. They're like, they can feel it. They're just like, oh my God, this is insane. This is wonderful. And by the way, this is like the end of his run. And he makes a joke where he goes something like, hey, Paul, time to gas the audience and kill them. And it's just like no other human being would do that. So yeah, I was a fan of that. I just love the way the people used to come out, like the Chris Elliott stuff, the bookmobile, all of that kind of stuff. And just that, and the stunts, monkey cam and all that kind of stuff. You need a monkey cam. You need a digital monkey cam for your show.
I remember reading the book about I remember reading the book about that war between Leno and Letterman to succeed Johnny, and they made an HBO movie about it as well. And I wonder sometimes if it didn't just work out for the best, because in an alternate universe where Letterman does go to the Tonight Show, I wonder if his humor would have been stifled by NBC and the kind of the Tonight Show brand. Like maybe it's better that he did his own thing on CBS.
I don't know. I mean, even the CBS show, it changed. I think the big theater and the big crowd, it's a different show. It's still Letterman. And I look back on things like, you can look at those sort of big moments like post 9/11 or post his heart surgery, or there was that big hurricane where he did a couple of shows from like the empty theater. And those were the moments where he just shined as just a master of the craft. You know what I mean? He started out, if you watch the old NBC shows, sometimes he wasn't the best interviewer. And by the end, he was so good and so interesting and just so riveting. Like I said, I can remember those moments like the post 9/11 shows where he was the first one to come out and sort of talk about how and why he was doing the show and why he thought it was important. And that was like just amazing stuff. I just think, I don't know, the Tonight Show, perhaps I love the Tonight Show. Obviously it was very important to him and I can't speak for him, but, he was just incredible. Truly to me, just defined not just modern talk shows, but really, I think his effect, if you will, on, I hate to say, my generation of comedy writers is just beyond huge. So yeah,
we stand on the shoulders of giants here at Animal Talking. David, are you old enough to remember Johnny? Did you grow up watching Johnny as a kid?
I did. I watched him. This is so sacrilegious. I remember watching him. I remember him thinking. I remember thinking it was for my parents, and I did watch. And there were things I did watch, and guests that I thought were interesting, and I loved the way he would have stand-ups on. I can remember things like Stephen Wright going on the show like early on and things like that. And we may talk about this later, I don't know, Buddy Hackett, going on and telling jokes and stuff. So I definitely remember that kind of stuff. But, I was a young kid and he seemed like an old guy. And it's, a bit of an a-hole young kid reaction, but it didn't hit me the same way Letterman did. It just didn't.
What do you think of the current crop? Kimmel, Fallon, obviously Conan has kind of straddled generations. He's been around for forever. Colbert. Do you think the current generation are carrying the torch well?
I love them all, and I check in with all of them. It's funny. I find myself probably like most people now watching specific bits on the internet as opposed to perhaps watching a full show the way I felt like I had to with Letterman. And that's as much about, I guess, me and my life and the way technology works as it is about them. But it's a different experience because, like I said, with Letterman, it was top to bottom, opening credits to, the goodnights. And that's a different thing. And it's not, it doesn't mean it's bad. It's just different.
Do you think the internet generation has kind of changed? It's interesting. I've said before, and I've given a bunch of interviews, and I've talked before about how that, it's ever since, Steve Allen first hosted The Tonight Show in 1954, it's been kind of a cornerstone of American popular culture, the idea that, it's the last thing you watch, before you go to bed at night. And people still do that. But as you said, now, the way I
just think so many people, it's not anymore. Now it's the thing you take a break, at 9 or 10 in the morning the next day and watch.
Right, and just watch the clips.
That immediacy. And like I said, so much of Letterman, when I go back and I think about Letterman, so much of Letterman lived in those weirder off moments, almost like the weird adjustments between, bits where like he would awkwardly throw to a bit. So in some weird way, like if you were to try and turn Letterman into little clips, digestible clips, like it wouldn't work the same way, the way that show breathed. And now these shows are very scientifically built to like, here's a clip. Now here's this section.
Right.
And that, again, these are not bad things, but things have changed. I don't, it's just different. And of course, I just end up sounding like an old man. Although my avatar makes me look very young and very thin. But anyway, yeah.
We always try to flatter our guests with the avatars. No, you're right. The way that we consume it has completely changed.
But let the record show I wrote you and I said, I think my avatar should be heavier. Let the record show I volunteered that. So.
And it's a whole discussion for another day, but I honestly think that Nintendo could be a bit more inclusive in like the different body types and things like that. There's more they can do for sure. But no, I love talking to you, David, because you're such a comedy nerd like I am, and I could talk to you about this stuff all day. You're right, it's interesting. The internet generation has completely transformed the way we watch these. They're not really late night shows anymore. You watch them in the morning, just like you're watching this one right now. And you're right. So even from the ground up, they are building these shows for a different kind of consumption rather than staying up and late at night and watching the whole thing. You watch the viral clips the next day.
This is not the perfect example, but it's an example. My father, who's, getting, like, I think, 1939 born. So we're 1938. He'll watch Seth Meyer doing like the sort of the current event stuff, not the monologue, but the closer looks, those things. He'll watch those. I'm not sure he's ever actually seen the show at night. You know what I mean?
I'm the same. I watch those Seth Meyers closer look segments, but I don't think I've ever watched like an entire episode of his show.
Right. Like, so I don't think he could tell you who Seth's sidekick announcer is. He doesn't know that that's Steve Higgins, because I'm not sure he's ever seen Steve Higgins. He's only seen a closer look, which on the one hand is fantastic that they've got my father watching a closer look. But on the other hand, it's just a whole different way about talking about like how viewers engage.
Interesting. Speaking of that, interesting comment from G-Saves in the chat. I don't know if this is true, but it sounds right. Apparently Peacock, which is NBC's upcoming streaming service, is going to be putting The Tonight Show and Late Night on earlier in the day. So if you have access to their service, you can watch the show because they record them about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They usually go out 11 o'clock at night. But I guess if you have Peacock, you could catch it earlier. And again, that's another shift.
When I worked in 30 Rock, that's where we did Saturday Night Live. That was one great things about it was you had the feed in your office. You had a TV where if you just flipped around the channels, you could see sports broadcasts, you could see all sorts of stuff, and you could watch the talk shows as they were being recorded in the building, basically, which was always a very I don't know. At the time, it seemed very cool. Now it sounds stupid. But anyway, it was very cool.
What do you think, David, is the enduring appeal of this format? It's been TV formats come and go. American TV shows never really last that long. But like again, the Tonight Show started in 1954. It's still going. Now there's like 8 of these shows across all the networks. What is the enduring appeal of this talk show format? You know, the host, the couch, the desk. What's it all about?
I think even without, even if you're not watching it at night in your bed, which I think was, obviously that original version, there's an intimacy to it. If you look back at the really old Carson shows, he was kind of like sitting there. He was often sometimes smoked at the desk. You know what I mean? And it felt like you, the audience member, were there. And, look, I think it's sort of what you're doing here, which is in its own weird way, you're being very comfortable and intimate with your audience by kind of joining them in this game they like. I mean, I don't mean to reduce it to that, but I think that there's a sense of you've got this guest, you could ask them anything, even though, maybe a more professional actor than myself is doing a character version of himself and obviously telling anecdotes that they've sort of pre-cleared and pre-screened about their movie coming out.
Right.
It seems real and it seems intimate. And for one brief shining moment, that's a good thing.
It's one of the things that I enjoy doing. Like we've kind of reinvented talk shows in the sense that we're doing it, inside a video game, but the format itself is very traditional. I love the fact that this looks like an old school talk show. And when we first started doing this kind of playing dress up with my first guest, Naomi, who came over, and I was like, I enjoyed doing all of the cheesy stuff. I understand you brought a clip and tell me about your new book. Like it's such a paint by numbers format that like everyone recognizes it instantly.
I just think, there's a familiarity, and what kind of wonderful is, and we used to talk about this in comedy writing in general, not so much specifically talk shows. It's if the bones are familiar, for lack of a better word, then the meat on the bones, you get to do a lot of other stuff because everyone understands what it is. And that's the thing going back to Letterman. It was like we knew what a talk show was, so we knew what he was supposed to be doing. So everything he did on top of it was different and interesting, but we always knew what it was supposed to be, which is what made what he was doing funnier. Does that, you know what I'm saying? It's like the straight line, the bones are very familiar and comfortable, and then the various hosts, and I will now include you among them, get to do sort of their jazz on top of it. I don't know. I don't mean to like make it too sort of scientific, but that's how I think about it in a really kind of cool way.
No, I think that's exactly right. Now, one of the classic comedy bits that I have referenced to many people as I've done interviews on this show, I've compared the show to Wayne's World because we do it in our basement.
Sure.
And the other kind of classic comedy touchstone, I'm going to reference the Larry Sanders Show, which of course wasn't a real talk show, but looked and felt so much like a real one. I just thought they did a brilliant job of recreating that vibe, both on air and behind the camera. And then the other classic kind of totemic thing that I always reference, and I went back and watched it just recently after we started doing the show, and I'm glad to have you here because you were a part of this and I want to talk to you about it, is
Sure.
the episode of Seinfeld from the final season when Kramer finds the old sets from the old Merv Griffin talk show in a
Merv
dumpster.
Griffin show, yeah,
And
exactly.
he takes it and rebuilds the set in his apartment and turns his apartment into a talk show, much like we have done here. Adam, I just realized you're my Newman.
Damn it! I was hoping you weren't going to say something about that.
You're my Newman. And I want to get into this episode with you, David. But the first thing I have to mention, because my wife brought this up when we saw this episode, that whole storyline with Jerry giving his girlfriend sleeping medicine so he could play with her toys, you would not get away with that today, surely. I mean, that it's a little bit freaky now, isn't it? Don't you think?
I guess when you reduce it to that moment, I think in the context of the show, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's probably a lot that would bother people nowadays. You know what I mean?
But I would. I
will simply say, as a toy collector, I sympathize. That's all I'll say.
So, I mean, and again, you can, even when I did a Friends rewatch, and there was like 100 times I said, "Oh my God, they would not get away with that today." Like times have changed so much and so quickly. But David, I wanted, because you worked on that episode. You worked on Seinfeld, so I want to ask you like where that all came from.
A huge shout out to writer Bruce Eric Kaplan, who that was his episode. And if my memory serves, it was actually one of the ideas on his, like, I think original sort of idea submission list that I think, partially got him hired, quite honestly. And if memory serves, I feel like I'm telling his anecdotes. If memory serves, he actually saw the Merv Griffin set, I think maybe in New York City, like in a dumpster. He did not then climb into the dumpster and take it, but he saw it, which was the inspiration. And that was actually, I'll simply tell you, that's the way the great Seinfelds worked. And in some ways, the really great, like, Curb Your Enthusiasms, which is, it starts with something real that you don't, and then it's like, I didn't take it out of the dumpster, Kramer would. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the great ideas, like something real, and then where do those characters take it in a way that you don't do it in real life? But a real story. He really saw it, and it just made for just, this wonderful sort of thing, especially in Kramer's apartment, which, for real fans of the show, you never got to see the whole apartment. You only got to see pieces of it. So we saw, like, his couch and the Fusilli Jerry thing, and we saw the crazy drawers that he had the Japanese tourists sleeping in, and he talked about the apartment, and then now we're going in and we're seeing this talk show set, so you never really know what is going on in Kramer's apartment.
I kind of feel like Kramer's apartment was like the TARDIS. It was like whatever that episode needed it to be. That
whatever
week.
He needed it to be when he needed it to be. Which I
love
think
that.
Was really fun. Yeah,
I love that. Now, of course, more recently, you're very well known for Curb Your Enthusiasm and Veep. I want to talk to you about both of those shows.
Sure.
We had Paul Scheer on here on the last episode, talked about how he was very nervous meeting Larry because he was on the most recent season. I have to, so my two heroes, my two biggest heroes in life are Fred Rogers and Larry David, but complete opposite ends of the personality spectrum.
Very different people.
Tell me about working on Curb. Tell me about working with Larry David.
Well, I mean, I've said this elsewhere too. Larry taught me to write sitcoms. I mean, that's the honest answer. I came to Seinfeld in '95 from SNL. Where the longest thing I'd written was probably a sketch that was too long. Like an 8 or 9 minute sketch that you're sitting there at home going, "This is too long," and he just really, and Jerry too, but Larry really taught me how to, structure and write a sitcom, and really to sort of go beyond where other sitcoms were going. It's just, he's as funny, and he's exactly what you think he is, although he's very different. He's not really, again, the sort of TV Larry versus real Larry. Real Larry thinks of a lot of these things, writes them down, doesn't always act on them in the same way that TV Larry does, which is kind of very funny. I
wonder if sometimes the show is like a way for him to kind of, like, a lot of times you think, well, I would love to do this thing, but I don't have the courage to do it, so he does it in the TV version.
And by the way, he does have the courage, and once in a while he does do it. but it's I do think it's some sort of big mass form of therapy of him being able to sort of play these scenarios out of, like, I just wish I would have said I don't want to participate in game night, and then there's your story. You know what I mean? That kind of those kinds of things.
Of course, I have to talk to you about Veep, which how many? Now, I know you weren't there at the inception of Veep. Did you come in after Armando Iannucci left? Yes, was that how it worked?
Armando left after season 4 and kind of wonderfully kind of wrote the show kind of into this wonderful corner where there was a tie in the Electoral College between Selena and the person she was running against, another candidate named O'Brien, and then decided he wanted to spend more time at home. The grind had gotten to him, and kind of handed the show off to me from this sort of wonderful, like I say, corner that he trapped all the characters in, and I did the final 3 seasons of the show, including the end. And I'm couldn't every day of this quarantine, I could not be happier that the show is over, because we were competing with a man that we cannot compete with, and we have been bested by the absurdity of the current administration, and I will leave it at that.
Lou
yeah.
Morton, who of course worked on the show with you, is a good friend of mine, and
Yep.
we've talked about this. And even Julia retweeted a tweet of mine a few weeks ago when I said, some ridiculous Trump thing. I said, like, this is why Veep had to end, and she agreed. Like, we have reached a point where reality has kind of outdone anything you could ever imagine on Veep.
I've had this, I don't want to say it's a nightmare because it didn't happen, but it's like occurred to me a lot, like a waking nightmare, that if we had shot another season of the show, we would have finished shooting the show probably in December or maybe at worst early January, and that I would be editing it right now, and all I could imagine would basically be wanting to throw the entire show in the garbage. Because the idea of a show airing right now that had no relation to just the daily insanity of what goes on in Trump world, it just would seem. It was hard enough then, and now it just, like I said, I'd be asking HBO basically to throw an entire season in the garbage if we had done more. I can't even imagine it. It just makes me insane, honestly.
So here's a still that you sent me over here on Monitor 2. Here you are on the set of Veep working with Julia, and there's Tony Hale in the background. What a blessing it must have been for you as a comedy writer to work with this cast of actors. I mean, just crazy, right?
The cast was just so incredible, and there were just times, there were also a lot of them, and so just the fun of juggling them and getting everybody in, but knowing that everybody could score, so that in a given scene, sometimes in a big group scene, each character might only have one or two lines, but you just knew that each one of them was going to just, when they got that, their sort of moment, it was going to be a home run for each, both a character moment, but also a comedy moment. Just an incredible cast, and it makes your job easier. When I get to do things like, write a scene for Julia where I'm like, okay, Julia, in this scene, you're sort of crying, but you're sort of angry, but you're also kind of annoyed at the person. And then it's just like, you don't like, it spoils you when you kind of get to go, just go do that. Do you know what I mean? And
Right.
She can and does. It's kind of amazing.
I do want to talk to you briefly about the series finale, because they're always a high wire act. It's very hard to do
Sure.
I think like the disappointing series finales in TV history outnumber the ones that people really feel like they nailed it. I think Veep is very much in the latter category. I was absolutely blown away when I saw that series. I remember texting Lou afterwards going, "That's one of the best series finales I've ever seen." There's a particular.
I appreciate that, because I always get confused between latter and former, so I didn't know where you had us. Anyway, go on. So thank you.
There's a particular moment in that, and I'm sure, of course you know which moment I'm talking about, where she's won re-election, she's back in the White House, she's the president again, and there's a moment where she's just alone by herself with her thoughts in the Oval Office for a moment. And all credit to Julia, like that, it's all in performance and there's no dialogue, but you realize just how deeply unhappy she still is.
All credit to the director, me. But anyway, no, this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's this sort of idea of she's there left alone with her thoughts, and she has to be haunted by these thoughts to literally almost the point of breaking down, and then find a way when the phone rings, and I think it's the Israeli ambassador on the phone, to compartmentalize those thoughts, pack them away, bury them deep down, and then get on that phone like she just sprung out of bed and it's the best morning of her life. And she takes it so far to the edge. It's just an incredible and heartbreaking and also sad thing, because it's like you hate her and yet you also feel bad for her. And that's the incredible accomplishment. And I would just say that, like, that I don't know, I used to remember from the edit room, I knew how long that moment was, and I don't remember it anymore, but it's like, I used to know the exact time of it. And I'll just simply say there's an entire acting class in those 30 seconds.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's an Emmy right there.
From a writing standpoint, I get to write that into the directions, which is she sits there and is haunted, whatever. And it's easy to write, but it ain't easy to do. And, I think, I don't know, it's funny. Gary Cole, who played Kent, said once in an interview somewhere that any actor has there's 10 basic skills, and a good actor, if you're lucky, has 5 of them really good. And Julia has 12 of them. And I think it's one of the best sort of quotes about her I ever heard, and I echo it and forever will. Yeah.
Gary Cole, also one of my favorites. What a tremendous actor. The
yeah.
way I am obsessed with that, like just that quiet moment with Julia behind the desk. The way that you just described it to me, is that the direction you gave her in that scene, basically?
I mean, I just honestly it was funny. It was thanks to our wonderful production staff, and actually it was our AD Rosie, who when they were doing the schedule, I think at some point or another that was on a different day, and he basically was the one that just said, "Come on, guys, that's got to be the last scene." So it was literally the last scene of Veep that we ever shot, and so it was the last day. It was the last scene. People were there, people like families were there. We had like 300 people at Video Village. And I remember keeping Julia on the set so that she wouldn't see the crowds, because I didn't want to freak her out. So I was bringing in, like a little thing, a handheld thing, if she wanted to watch a take. And and again, she did a first take and it was incredible, and it would have been fine, good, and great for any other person, but her willingness to kind of keep going, and we talked a lot about what she'd done to the character of Gary in the episode, and how she sort of is realizing how she's betrayed she sort of she killed Fredo. That's how we kept talking about it,
right.
And she did this just beyond horrible thing to get the thing she always wanted, and of course she's gotten it here. And we just talked about just really pushing it to the edge, and it was scary, but it was wonderful, and she was already emotional to begin with. And so you don't want to, how do I put this, you never want to see the tears, but you want to get as close to them as humanly possible. And I believe we got sort of millimeters away from like the tears, which I just, to me, it's like I said, it's heartbreaking, it's sad, you're angry at her, it's a little bit funny in its own weird way too when she picks up the phone, and I don't think there's any other human being that could have done that scene. So yeah, just a perfect little comedy moment, and I think it really sums up why everything that was so great about kind of the nuance and the understatement of why that show was often so funny. David, speaking of Veep, you've got something very special for us. I didn't ask you for this. You volunteered to do it. I'm so pleased that we're going to get to do this. You are going to sign, you're going to autograph a copy of the Blu-ray of the final season of Veep. It's up here on the screen right now, the final season on Blu-ray. There's Julia on the cover. You're going to autograph a copy of this personally, and you're going to get it to me, and I am going to send this out to one lucky winner, right? Don't go back on me now, David, because it's no. Yes, I will let the record show. I had asked HBO for a couple of copies. Not, by the way, that I think anyone buys Blu-rays anymore, but I always like doing it because we do commentary. So there's commentaries on it for all the episodes, including 2 different commentaries on the final episode. One with like the actors, and one with me and my executive producer Morgan Sackett and our DP, and it was just like talking more from a production standpoint. And they sent me like 20 of them, and I don't know 20 people that want a DVD, Blu-ray. So my gain is your viewers' gain. They're going to get a copy.
I mean, you're right. Who buys Blu-rays anymore? But it says here there's a digital code in the box too, so add it to your digital archive too.
It is, but I'm sorry to say this, and I'm sure Time Warner will get very angry. It's not for iTunes, so I don't know what the point is. But anyway, yeah, I know.
Get with the program. What is it, like Voodoo or some crap like that? What the hell?
Yeah, it was like, I don't know, it was like Voodoo or something, but something that somehow didn't link. Like I don't know, I was very upset about that. So anyway, but enjoy the Blu-ray.
Well, enjoy, and it'll be signed personally by you, so it'll be something to treasure.
I'll write whatever they want.
David. I will connect with you in the coming days. I'll get the copy from you, and I'll send it on to one lucky winner. I'm going to give that away tomorrow.
I'm going to send you one for Sting also. Will you give it to him for me?
I will. I'll make sure Sting gets it. Don't worry, David.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I'm going to give that away tomorrow on Animal Crossing Mornings. I have a morning show. occasionally where I just play Animal Crossing, and I've got my island. I've been stuck down here in my basement for so long, David. The actual island up above is really going to pot. The weeds are growing. The fruit needs picking. It's a big mess. I'm going to take care of that tomorrow morning. And if you come join me 9 a.m. tomorrow Pacific time on this channel for Animal Crossing Mornings, I will give away one copy of and here it is again, the final season of Veep on Blu-ray with a digital version, signed by director and producer David Mandel. Wonderful, wonderful. I love that. Now, David, the other reason why I'm excited to have you on the show is we have a lot in common. You, much like me, are a big Star Wars nerd, and in fact, I think you might be a bigger Star Wars nerd even than I am. Tell me about your Star Wars obsession.
Well, I've always sort of thought I was born in sort of the perfect year because I'm 1970. So Star Wars for me was age 7, which it doesn't get any better than that, I honestly think. And in fact, I waited till my daughter was 7 years old to show her Star Wars. I actually own a print of it and actually rented out a theater for all our friends and showed her an original cut of Star Wars non-special edition on a big screen so that she would see it the same way I did as a kid in New York City. And I have just, obviously I write comedy, but it's a big part of, I think, sort of why I kind of got into sort of, a creative field, and I have just been in love with it. I'm a collector. I collected the toys as a kid, the comics. I now have original comic art and also actual movie props from the original trilogy. And I love it to death.
We're going to get to that in just a moment.
Big influence, yeah.
You sent me some really interesting pictures. First of all, I want to talk about your book that you did back in 2016. I'm going to put it up on the screen right now.
This was one of the few times, although this is, I guess, the same as you getting to write a movie. This is me at least getting to sort of do something in my real life a little bit, connecting to my passion, which is myself, my friend Brandon Allinger and Wade LaJose. We did basically the definitive Ralph Mcquarrie art book. We went through the Lucasfilm archives. We re-photographed things that needed being photographed, but the book basically has every single piece of art that was sort of at the archives, plus stuff we found in other collections, interviews, old interviews with Ralph that hadn't been seen in a while, new interviews with people that worked with Ralph. It is the definitive, really, history of Ralph Mcquarrie and his influence, not just on those original Star Wars films, but as we've gone into these new, the new films, both in terms of movies like yours, where I think they pulled old designs out, but also unused designs, which have been used in some of the new movies too. And he just was an incredible talent that really, I think, helped George Lucas define that sort of used space look, that look and feel, that really kind of why Star Wars was so unique and different and stood out from, traditional ways of looking at sort of space movies at the time. And it was just so fun working on this book, just to just be up at the archives, running free and looking through art and stuff. It was amazing.
Ralph Mcquarrie, yeah, absolutely. Of course, one of the pivotal characters in the creation of Star Wars, and why it's still so influential today. To this day, they still pull old Ralph art and like reinvent it and find new ways to use it.
There's definitely stuff. I mean, even in the J.J. Abrams movie, there's a couple, 3 or 4 things where you're just like, oh, they pulled that out of unused Ralph drawings. So his sketches, just stuff, the unused stuff, is still, for lack of a better word, paying dividends.
Because they love to go back and use that stuff because they feel like they're paying tribute to the origins of Star Wars, and rightly so. I think I worked on Star Wars Rebels for 2 seasons. I believe I'm right in saying the character of Zeb was actually based on an unused original concept for Chewbacca. I wrote an episode. Kind
of, it's like almost like a closer to like a monkey version of Chewbacca, and yes, exactly. That was sort of one of the early drawings. I think when like Luke was a girl, and and like Han Solo had a beard. In one of those really early versions, and that's what Chewbacca looked like. And that's stuff like that I just love about both his work, and I think is one of the cool things that they do sort of in the Star Wars universe.
They do it all the time, and it's wonderful. I wrote an episode of Star Wars Rebels that had a particular kind of droid in it, And for the droid, they went back and they resurrected one of the original unused concepts for C-3PO. And the great thing about it is all the Star Wars fans that are watching are all hardcore enough to watch the episode and go, oh my God, that's an original Mcquarrie unused C-3PO. Like, they all get the references.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best kind of sort of whatever you want to call it. I guess best Easter egg kind of reference where if you don't know, it's a robot, it's cool, it's fine, it's good, it's not hurting anything, you're not enjoying it less. But when you're watching it, if you do know, it's a little, oh, cool. You know, it's a little extra moment for you,
Yeah,
but without hurting the larger thing.
We both went through those Star Wars, those Lucasfilm archives at the Skywalker Ranch back in the day. I actually have my own story related to this in Mcquarrie. I was there with Gareth, and we were going through all the the props, and Gareth and I would like pick up at something and say, Is this the one that was actually used in the movie? And eventually the curator of the museum got tired of answering the question and said, look, you can stop asking. If it's here, it's the one that was used in the movie. We don't have like replicas here. These are all the original ones. And we were just blown away by that. And I remember the thing that got, I was blown away by the props. The thing that got me was the props. The thing that got Gareth was when he got to go to the, there's these, you'll have seen these massive drawers that you open up with these big artworks in them. And Gareth was, because he idolized Mcquarrie, he was getting quite misty-eyed looking at, because they were the originals. And it was just incredible to see this history right there in front of you.
No, I mean, George Lucas was so smart about basically establishing these archives. So you're just opening drawers and it's the Mcquarrie stuff. But by the way, it's also like you can open some drawers and the Steranko Indiana Jones concept pieces are in another drawer. You know what I mean? And then you go to your left and there's costumes, and you go over here and there's lightsabers. I mean, and the ship models. I mean, I honestly, if I could have figured out a way to murder them all and back a truck up and take it all, I would have, but I couldn't figure out how to do it.
My favorite thing that I saw there, because it's kind of relatively obscure, but that's kind of what made it cool. It wasn't from Star Wars, it was from Raiders of the Lost Ark. They have the Ark there, and it's cool to see the Ark. But the thing that I insisted I take a picture with, they let you take pictures, but you're never allowed to show them, so I can never show anyone this. But I have a picture, and this is my favorite picture from the archives. It's the crate they put the Ark in, complete with the burn marks of God over the Wehrmacht logo. That is so badass.
The others, they've got on some of the walls, they've got some of the paintings of the original Star Wars posters, which are incredible. My favorite thing, and by the way, I actually did post it eventually, so maybe they'll come for me, but they didn't have it attached to a handle, but they had one of the original lightsaber sticks, which was wrapped in that special tape that kind of like when you flash something, the light hits it, so it looks like a real lightsaber. So I kind of held it in my hands as if there was a handle on it. And a buddy of mine with the iPhone, you put the flash on, and so when the picture, it doesn't look like anything when you're standing there, but the picture looks like I'm holding an actual glowing lightsaber. It's the greatest thing in the world.
Now, you sent me a picture, two pictures that I've got to share.
Oh, yeah.
And you mentioned you're a big Star Wars prop collector. This week is actually the 40th anniversary of The Empire Strikes Back. I believe officially it was yesterday, right?
It was yesterday. I managed to put this up, I think, around 2 a.m. on my Twitter account. So I had forgotten it.
I got to share these pictures right now. This is amazing. So this is something you own in your prop collection. This is an original clapperboard from The Empire Strikes Back. It says September 1979, and this is a part of your collection.
Yeah, it's actually, they had big clapperboards that they would use in the big scenes, but they had these little clapperboards that they could hide in the cockpits of like the X-Wing or the Snowspeeder, and then the actor himself would do the clapperboard for the scene because it was, no one else could really be in there. It was tight. And so the other picture is of Mark Hamill. I'm sure there was more than one, so I hesitate to say this is the one, but it's certainly one of the ones, I guess is the easiest way of putting it.
I mean, it looks right. You can see here even Mark's having to operate the clapper himself because there's so little room inside that cockpit.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, I think. So
that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Very, very, very cool indeed. So, David, I have to ask you, would you be interested in ever doing something in the Star Wars universe, like in the TV or the film space? And more pointedly, maybe we should put our heads together and take something to Lucasfilm. Let's light this candle Let's find something to do in the Star Wars universe.
In 3 seconds, honest to gosh. I mean, I don't know. If nothing else, I'd like to get hired and fired, I guess, if nothing else, like everybody else. But I would like, yeah, it would be incredible. It would just be incredible. It would just be so fun to do it, and on some level also to, not just to do it to kind of, because I feel like I think about it a lot anyway, but also just, boy, it'd be fun, to one day be able to kind of show your kids and go, hey, I made a Star Wars thing, whatever it is, it'd be incredible. So yeah,
my daughter loves to run around saying, she loves to run around saying, my dad made a Star Wars, as do I. I love running around saying I made a Star Wars.
No, you both should. Yeah. No, I think I may have told you this last summer. I believe it was last summer, over at the Academy here in Los Angeles in Beverly Hills. They did a special screening on a Saturday morning where they showed Rogue One and then played a print of Star Wars back to back. And I was able to, I took my son and a buddy of his and my wife, and we went and we were there for, 6 hours, no snacks or anything, but it was incredible. And it was really just great to see.
It's funny. I've still never, even after all these years, I've still never done that. Watched Rogue One and A New Hope back to back, even though they're designed to work that way. There are even people out there that have cut them together into one long 4-hour movie. And apparently it's pretty cool.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, the sort of all of the little things that are obviously in Rogue One, sort of, how do you put it? They all pay off. All the stuff that's there that kind of is signaling Star Wars and that kind of stuff, and obviously just very seamless too, in a really cool way.
You would have loved it, David, when we had Paul Scheer on the show here the other night. He talked about being hired and fired. He actually did shot and produced 8 episodes of a Star Wars talk show called After Darth.
Oh yeah, yes.
He was, sat behind a desk with a coffee mug, just like this one. He had a breakdancing Lobot. He had all kind. Why that is not on Disney Plus right now? It just boggles the mind. It just seems like Disney is leaving money in the bank there.
I think everyone's scared of comedy in the Star Wars universe somehow. I don't know why. Because obviously, even like in the Mandalorian, you're seeing already, certainly with the a couple of the episodes, certainly. Look, Han Solo was funny. I mean, I'm not saying it was a comedy, but they've always been, that kind of, I always call it like sort of that Lawrence Kasdan kind of, witty banter is,
right.
Very, such an important piece of the Star Wars history. So they are funny. And if I were them, I would be looking for a comedy writer with a couple of Emmys, with a sketch background, who's worked on these things to really be brought into the universe. That's what I would do if I were.
I quite agree. When we worked on Rogue One, we were trying to kind of reverse engineer the DNA of the comedy in the Star Wars universe. And John Knoll, who I worked on the movie with, actually did a whole presentation kind of deconstructing why some comedy moments in Star Wars work well and why others don't. And the central conclusion was basically, when the comedy comes from character, it works. Anytime it's anything to do with slapstick, it doesn't work as well.
Right. And by the way, one can sort of make that argument. I'm not sure that's not a Star Wars rule. I think that works throughout the known universe.
It's kind of universal comedy rule.
Yeah.
True in a galaxy far, far away, and equally true here. David, you've been a fascinating guest, and I'm so glad you're going to stick around. But my goodness, poor Rebekah, I've kept her waiting a lot. Long enough.
Sorry,
David, you are going to be automatically scooched down the couch.
Okay.
That will all be taken care of for you. My next guest is the North American staff writer at GamesIndustry.biz, where she reports on the business of video games with way more exuberance than you'd expect from someone talking about financial reports. She's a lovely, lovely person. I've commented on her Twitter feed many times saying, this is the wholesome content I'm here for. And I'm very glad that she's going to bring her particular brand of wholesome content to our show. Please welcome to the show the wonderful Rebekah Valentine. Yay! I love it. Rebekah, please park yourself on the couch here next to David. Plenty of room for both of you. There you go. Rebekah, how are you?
I'm good, Gary. How are you doing?
You just sound like tickled pink to be here.
I'm so happy. That face that my character is, that is my face. That's what I look like.
You are way too happy for anyone this early in the morning. Although you're a couple of hours ahead of me, right?
It's noon, Gary. I've made a whole omelet. I've had like 3 cups of tea. I've drank a whole bottle of water. I mean, we're doing good here.
I almost thought you were going to say a whole bottle of wine. That would have been interesting.
No, that's for later tonight.
So it's almost noon where you are, and where that, if I'm not mistaken, that is Kansas City, Missouri. How do you like living in Kansas City, Missouri? Is that where you're from?
No, so I'm from Wichita, Kansas, which is fine. Like that, Wichita's fine. And I moved out to Kansas City. Oh, geez, it's been a year and a half. I moved out here a year and a half ago, and just sort of looking for something a little bit bigger, but not too intimidating. It's a little bit difficult to make the jump from the Midwest out to a big coastal city or something like that. But I love it, honestly. Like I have so many wonderful friends here. The food is really, really good. The weather is exactly the same, kind of bad. And unpredictable, but yeah, no, Kansas City rules. Come here, eat some barbecue. It's good stuff.
I do like that KC barbecue. John Fingers in the chat is suggesting what could be an incredible tagline for a future tourism campaign. Wichita, it's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. It's a city. I mean, it's in the middle of Kansas. It's not like, there's not nothing there, but...
There's another one. There's not nothing here. Yeah, you should work for like the Wichita, like a Kansas marketing board.
I don't think they want me.
David, you ever spend any time out there in the Midwest? In those flyover, what do we call them? Flyover states? Is he still here? Did we lose him? Where did he go? Is he gone? He's still on the couch.
I actually think he left.
Oh, did he leave?
I'm here.
No, he's here. He's here. I just don't think he expected me to throw to him so quickly.
The audio has been going in and out. I apologize. I have not. I am an insane diehard New Yorker, and the only thing that ever gets me off the coast, I guess, used to be the occasional Comic-Con, and I never went to one in Kansas, so no. But the idea of burnt ends, though, is very appealing. So yeah, that would be nice.
If you're ever out here, I will tell you where the good burnt ends are.
So let's talk about this for a second.
I hear it's fine, so I'd love to get there.
And it's fine.
No, Kansas City's great. Wichita is fine.
Rebekah, okay.
I will stand up for Kansas City.
I know you are a foodie, and I do want to talk to you about some of your. We're going to have a little bit of a cooking segment coming up on the show in just a moment. Okay, so I'm fascinated. Different kinds of barbecue. My wife is from North Carolina. She introduced me to Carolina barbecue, which I love. That kind of vinegary taste I really like. What is it that sets Kansas City barbecue aside from like Texas and North Carolina and other kinds of barbecue?
Oh no, you would actually ask me to have a real opinion about this. I'm just an enthusiastic person, Gary, and I am just enthusiastic about food in general. I have not done a lot of traveling and tasting different barbecue. I think with Kansas City, kind of the sheer volume of options you have sort of means that there's going to be, I mean, people here get really excited about barbecue. People fight over the good barbecue. But yeah, you should. But there are so many good places. There's Joe's KC. I got takeout from there a little while ago. Actually, if anyone's ever seen Queer Eye, Jones Barbecue was on one of the seasons of that was set in Kansas City. And that episode is really wonderful and heartwarming. But Jones Barbecue actually is extremely legit. It's very, very good. And then you were talking about kind of a more vinegary barbecue. There's a place kind of in the section of town that I frequent called Gates Barbecue, and theirs is a little more vinegary too. But I kind of like it. But yeah, I don't know what makes it better. I just like it because I live here. I mean, I'll just fight you because I live here.
I haven't even had my breakfast this morning, and this is already making me, I'm salivating as we talk about all these different flavors. And it's going to get worse as we have pictures that we're going to show in a moment of some of the amazing dishes that you've concocted recently. Leah, my wife and executive producer in the chat, says that Rebekah, your energy you remind her of Joy from Inside Out, and I think that's a spot on description, just like bubbling.
That's such a nice compliment. Thank you so much.
With positivity and energy. What is on the bottom of your shoes? It almost looks like a little Assassin's Creed logo or something. What is that?
These aren't. I mean, I don't think you can do custom shoes in this game. These are actually here. These are. I don't know how you say her name. Labelle.
Okay.
Yeah, Labelle. Her sneakers. These are her sneakers. So they have. I think if you. I mean, I can't really zoom in, but they have that little logo on the side. So I think that's her logo.
And you are representing, of course, the GamesIndustry.biz that you work for with the lovely custom sweatshirt that you have on there.
Yes.
So tell me, how did you get into games, Rebekah Valentine? Were you a baby gamer? Have you been playing video games from a young age?
Oh no, this is terribly embarrassing. I didn't play a ton of games growing up. I was an after school program kid, and I would watch the big kids play Mario on the NES. But like I didn't really actually play. I was too intimidated. I was also pretty young, and I was like in kindergarten. But I got Pokemon Gold and Silver in a Game Boy Color when I was 10 years old, and that was kind of my gateway into games. And I had a GameCube a few years later, but I was very casual about it. Like I was never a super serious, really into games. I played Pokemon, I played Harvest Moon, I played Mario, real chill, laid back. I had a DS for a while, but then when I graduated college, I was an English major, and I kind of had a weird sort of moment right after I graduated where I realized I thought I wanted to go into creative writing, and I wasn't bad at it, but I realized that wasn't what I wanted to do, and I didn't know. So I was working kind of a boring day job, just doing technical writing, and I was just bored. Like, it was fine, it made money, but I wasn't having a really good time. And then a friend of mine, my friend Bill, actually told me that he was doing some writing for this network of websites that mainly did sports, but they had a video game website. This is the Fan-Sided network. They had a video game website, Game-Sided, that needed, people to write about games. And it was just sort of like you kind of write whatever you want and they just post it. It's just a little video game blog. But I sent in a little application, and the editor-in-chief, Daniel George, apparently liked my weird opinion about Starbound. And so he brought me on, and just I started writing for them a little bit more, and I started to really love it. And there was a year that I mean, this is like a very long, like, drawn out thing, but basically I worked really hard at it because I really, really enjoyed it, and I ended up getting bumped up to co-editor with Daniel. And we decided one year, we kept getting reached out to by PR around E3 time, and said, hey, are you guys coming to this? We have, opportunities to show off these games. And we always had to say no, because the network wasn't going to send us, and we couldn't really afford to go. And finally one year we were sick of it, and we said, okay, we're going to save up our money this year, and we're just going to go. We're just going to make it happen. And we went, and I was on the show floor of this Microsoft Xbox event for indies, and there was someone there showing the Darwin Project. And Darwin Project's fine, it's a fine game. It's actually really sad. It's like shutting down, I think, later this year. But he just started talking to me about his game, and he was so excited. He was like so pumped that his game was on the show floor at Microsoft's event, and he talked my ear off for just 10 minutes. Like, I couldn't get a question in edgewise on the interview.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, sorry, you asked. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, it was amazing, and I was so happy about it. I decided this is what I want to do. I just want to listen to people talk about the games that they made and how much they love them. Okay, that's it.
And so now, Rebekah, I've decided that you are the Lois Lane of video games, the Lois Lane of the video games business, ace reporter. I hear your name all the time because, as you know, I co-host on Wednesdays Kind of Funny Games Daily with Greg Miller. And like so many of the stories that we cover are actually based on your reporting. The number of times I heard Greg Miller say this is based on a story from Rebekah Valentine over at GamesIndustry.biz. You've obviously got your finger on the pulse. You are constantly breaking the big news stories in the games business. What are some of the big stories you are currently covering or have been covering recently?
Well, let's see. I think one of the big ones that I did recently is, I wrote about Respawn, which is the studio that's doing Apex Legends, about them opening a new studio and up in Canada to work on Apex Legends further. And I got to talk to some of the leads at that studio about the work that they were doing. I got to see Crucible, which is Amazon's new game. I got to see that a little bit early and talk to Lou Castle, who's the head of Amazon Game Studios. I talked to him about that game and kind of how that development's going. So stuff like that. It's the business side is interesting because I think that I'm always surprised when people compliment my work because it feels to me very dry and like something that people might not always be super interested in. But the thing that I really value about like what you and what Greg and what all the folks at Kind of Funny do is you all sort of translate why the business side of the industry is really important to the audience of everybody, right? Like why it's important to know how the games that you love get made. Yeah.
Now, we like to keep it light on this show. This whole show is meant to be a distraction from, the troubles of the real world. But I do want to ask you, as a games journalist, someone who's working kind of in the trenches of games journalism every day, What do you think of the current state of games journalism? Is it living up to the name? Is games journalism real journalism these days? Because in the 90s, when I was editing a PC Gamer, it really wasn't. We just like reviewed games and did previews, and we weren't really much more than a kind of a mouthpiece for the PR companies. Obviously, our reviews were legit, and we expressed our own opinions, but we weren't really doing like penetrating, behind the scenes investigative reporting. It feels like there's more of that going on these days, and games journalism is touching more on kind of social issues and things like that. Are you happy with the current state of games journalism?
I think everything could always improve. So I think there's sort of a distinction that needs to be made between games journalism and just kind of more broader games writing. Because games journalism is, what you're talking about there, right? Like it's reporting and kind of doing this investigation and looking into these stories and finding out what's going on and asking the questions about how things are working behind the scenes and what people want to know, and getting that information out to people and getting the truth about whatever it is out to people. Games writing more broadly includes a lot of different things, right? Like it includes kind of more blog style writing, and includes criticism and reviews. It includes just kind of goofy, silly things like, oh, look, this, games community, I don't know, look at all these goofy things people are doing in Animal Crossing, right? Like that's another part of games writing. And all those things are important components of games writing. And I in no way would ever diminish like any part of that. They all matter. Like they all kind of come together as this sort of broad picture of what you can read about in terms of video games. Games journalism itself, it's definitely getting better, right? Like you're correct in that. I'm still pretty young to it, I guess. I didn't start at Games Industry until 2018. I was with Fansided and GameSided and the site that turned into AppTrigger since back in 2014. But that's still like not a huge amount of time in the games industry. But since I've been in it, yeah, I've definitely seen. I think people are starting to care more about good reporting and interesting reporting, and they're starting to see that the games industry isn't just this, oh yeah, video games hype. Like it's not just that, right? Like there's so many other components of it, and I think there is an audience that's starting to really care about how the games that they love get made and be interested in that kind of writing. And when people care about that kind of thing, then I don't want to say that people being interested in a particular kind of writing magically translates into funding, because, gosh, there's no money in journalism anywhere. Gosh dang it. But it does mean that there's more room for that kind of stuff to exist and more people who will try to do that kind of stuff well. And I think the funding issue is a whole big can of worms, and it's something that prevents a lot of good reporting from being done in not just games, but absolutely everything. But it's getting better. We're inching our way there. I don't want to see any more sites closed down, but we're trying.
If you could wave a magic wand and fix one thing about the games, not just games journalism, but the games industry as a whole, what bugs you the most? What would you most like to see fixed?
Oh man, do I have to pick one? Can I pick two? I think if I had to pick just absolutely one, it would probably be the thing that I just said. I would just take a bunch of money from, I don't know, a bunch of billionaires who are just doing nothing useful with it. I would just take a bunch of money from them and just put it into making a bunch of really good websites. Because that's the thing, right? Like when a website has money, has like a good solid budget, one, they can pay their writers fairly, right? Like you can actually get, a staff of people on board who are being paid like, a good amount of money to do the work that they're doing and do it well. And then once you have that staff of writers, you can get a big enough staff of writers, right? That you can have. So when I write for Games Industry, I have a lot of things that I do on a day-to-day basis. Like I'll write, kind of standard news stories. I'll look around and find things and I'll write them up. But I'll also do like long form, reporting, and I'll do like these investigative pieces that take a long time to do. And there's several sites that do that really, really well. But that stuff takes time. It takes a lot of time to do. And when you don't have a ton of resources, it's really, really hard to give people the time they need and the resources they need to do that. So, again, if sites are funded well, then they can hire more people so that, somebody can take a couple of days where they don't have to do kind of the everyday stuff, and they can just focus on, all right, I'm going to do like this. I'm going to focus really hard on this one investigative thing I'm doing. I'm going to make a bunch of phone calls. I'm going to work, really hard on that. So that's another thing that comes from that. It also enables you to invest in building people up, right? Like, so you're not just hiring these people who have been in the industry for 20 years and who, because the games industry is becoming a more diverse place, but has, kept a lot of people out for a long time. It enables people to sort of invest in up and coming writers who might be, they might not be men, they might be people of color, they might not necessarily be, just like the straight white men that I think have been the most prominent in the industry in the past. It lets you kind of support up and coming voices that are more diverse and have these different perspectives and these different ideas. So yeah, I think that's what I do. Sorry, that's a very long answer, but I would basically just take a bunch of money from a bunch of billionaires and fund a bunch of really good sites. I'd put it in the hands of people who were like capable of running really, really good sites already, and just be like, here, go crazy, do some really good writing. That's
Adam, I don't know about you, but like having Rebekah sitting here on the couch with me, I kind of feel like I just shotgunned a 6-pack of Red Bull. Red Bull Valentine. That is the new name that I have given to you. My goodness, it's so much. I love the energy. The energy is incredible. David Mandel. I didn't touch on this with you when you were in position A here on the couch. I don't know if you would call yourself a gamer, but is there any room in your life for video games? Have you over the years have you played many games?
I have. I mean, look, now old school. I mean, I had as a child, our first system was Pong. I had a Pong system, and then I had an Atari 2600 that I actually took to college with me, which I loved. But in the early 2000s, I co-hosted a video game talk show on the Burley Network called Dave Steve's Video Game Explosion, which I recommend everyone go check out. It's on YouTube.
I'm sorry, what is it called?
Dave and Steve's Video Game Explosion. Me and another Saturday Night Live writer, Steve Lookner, and a couple of young writers who have gone on to really great stuff. Craig DiGregorio and James Egan, and they put us on the air because they couldn't afford us as writers, but if they made us the host, we would write our own material for free, basically. And that was the gist of the show, because we used to shoot it like in the basement of a friend's house. It was a little ahead of its time, because it was very makeshift, but before you could kind of put it on the internet. But I would say check it out. I think what the game industry really needs are longer and more boring cut scenes that you can't jump through. Is there a way we can get to work on that?
As a storyteller, David, I'm shocked that you would hold that opinion. Don't you want to watch the story part of the game?
Oh my God, no. Honestly, I can stand in a distinct minority, but I can truly tell you, I have never played a video game where beyond the who do I shoot or what am I looking for, have I ever, quote unquote, lost myself in the majesty of the story. And I would argue anyone who says they have is lying. Sorry.
I don't know. This is a whole other show, a whole other conversation we can have.
No, it's okay. I'm creating controversy. Go on.
This is the kind of controversy that we need. I've been wanting to go in a more Maury Povich direction for a while anyway, give the show a boost. I don't know what it is about, like Paul Scheer on here and now David, like there's a theme developing where our guests come on and shock me by revealing that they hosted these amazing concept talk shows that I've never heard about. And David, in just a few moments that we've been talking about it, our crack research team has found it. We have found Dave and Steve's Video Game Explosion. Let's run a quick clip of this right now.
Oh dear Lord, you can't just run a clip that you don't.
Oh, we're doing it. We're doing it.
David Mandel, and I'm Steve Lookner, and welcome to.
By the way, I can't even see the clip.
The triumphant
for the best.
First episode of Dave and Steve's Video Game Explosion here on the Burly Bear Network. In light of the tragic events of September 11th, I have to admit I wasn't really sure we should be doing any of this. Oh my God.
Oh, okay. So the very first clip is you. I was like, why is this so low energy? And it's like this happened just after 9/11. My God.
Yeah, that was our.
Great.
We talked about the Letterman thing earlier. That was our parody version of when talk shows came back after 9/11, and if I remember the clip, it's should there even be?
Should we even be doing? I love that in the pilot episode. You're asking, questioning the very existence of the show in the first 20 seconds of episode 1. That is just fantastic.
I will make the argument it was more about the comedy than the video games.
Okay, Kate is assuring me that episode 2 is more upbeat. Let's take a look at this.
Oh dear God! I feel like I'm hijacking this thing. I'm very sorry.
No, I love it. Oh, this one's got an intro. This is much fancier.
It's just throwing video games in the trash.
Well, it's because as every system gets outdated and you throw the old one out.
I see. Okay. This has got much fancier graphics.
I think that
Hi
credits
there.
plays
I'm
eventually
Steve.
after our
And
9/11
welcome to
introduction.
Steve and
The other
Dave's
thing that I
Video
remember
Game
talking about on the show that I always
Or
loved
Dave and Steve's.
was in Germany, you can't show a swastika. You can't actually show
That's correct.
Nazi logos and whatnot. And so,
Well, I mean, was that important to you, Dave, that you show Nazi logos
we were
on your show? I
talking
don't know.
about there was a new Wolfenstein version at
Okay.
the time, which the original Wolfenstein on like the Apple II was a favorite game of mine, and so I think it was called Wolfenstein 3D or something. And so we were talking about how you can't show swastikas and whatever, and our running joke was that if you were watching on our stage, there was a giant swastika, but you couldn't see it. That was our other big piece of conceptual comedy. I apologize, Rebecca. I apologize, Gary.
No. This is all comedy, all comedy gold. Trying to stay on
But
the
I
right
think,
side of.
Rebecca, if
Go
you
ahead.
want to do a very long form piece, I think I found your next story for you.
I think we're going to have
I'll
you
get
back.
right into investigating that.
Yeah, you've given Rebecca her next story. We'll have you back on the show, David, for a real deep dive here. My goodness. Rebecca, I want to talk to you about a particular fascinating kind of sub-facet of your interest in video games. I know that, and for anyone who follows you on Twitter knows this. And by the way, if someone can drop Rebecca's Twitter into the chat, that would be great. It's Duck Valentine on Twitter. Drop it into the chat and give Rebecca a follow, because not only does she break the hottest news stories, she also has very, very wholesome and funny content, and she also streams on Twitch. Let's get her Twitch channel up here as well. What's your Twitch channel name, Rebecca? Because I know you stream sometimes.
I think it's also Duck Valentine.
Duck Valentine. Let's get that up there.
I'm very sporadic with it. It's very, if I have I play a lot of cozy video games. And if I'm playing a cozy video game that I want to share with people, I will stream it. But it's not regularly scheduled at all.
It's Revy REVYB
it?
is the Twitch channel. Yeah, yes.
Oh, I thought I changed it to Duck Valentine.
Rebecca finding out the name of her Twitch channel right here on the show. I love it.
I thought I changed it. That's okay.
Okay, now one of the things.
She did change it.
Did she? I don't know.
She?
I don't know. Look. This is not.
Find out
This is
more
not good
Twitter.
television, Adam. Let's move on. Rebecca, one of the things that I love about your Twitter feed is that you have this fascinating hobby where you like to collect video game themed cookbooks and then make the recipes therein. And I can see you wanding right now. Look at this. Oh my God, you came prepared. You came prepared. You have become Chef Valentine. No
Hello.
longer Reb Valentine, but Chef Valentine. I'm very. We've had live music on this show. We've had live stand-up comedy, and now finally we break the third. We open the third Horcrux of talk shows. We're going to have a cooking segment in a manner of speaking.
Jeez.
Rebecca, we're going to show some wonderful, absolutely delicious looking images of things that you've made. But tell me, so I'm guessing that you like to cook and you like video games and just kind of mashed up those two hobbies. How did this obsession with cooking video game related recipes begin?
Oh, it was an accident, Gary. The secret is I am a very mediocre chef. I did not grow up cooking. I did not really know how to cook. I mean, I could make rice and pasta. I could do very basic things to keep myself alive, but just really couldn't cook. And then I'd been playing a lot of World of Warcraft. I still play World of Warcraft, but I had been playing a lot of it several years ago. And for Christmas, a family member gave me the World of Warcraft cookbook by Chelsea Monroe Castle. And I had been planning the following day to serve my parents a Christmas dinner, and I had planned a turkey, and I'd done everything. I'd gotten the turkey. I had thought it correctly. I had prepared everything correctly. But what I had not done was actually come up with how I was going to season it and figured out a recipe. And I have no idea why I thought this was an acceptable thing to do at the last minute. But so that morning I woke up and, had the panic of, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do with this turkey. And so there's a big picture of just the most juicy, beautiful turkey on the front of the World of Warcraft cookbook. So I opened it up and I had every ingredient for that turkey. And I thought, fine, I'll do it. And so I followed that recipe and it was good. It was so good. And I did it and it was tasty. And over the next few weeks, I started making more recipes out of the cookbook because it seemed like it was fun. And then I opened up kind of the chapter selection of the book to see what else was in there. And I was looking through it and I realized, I've already made 15 of these and there's about 100. I think I could just make all of these. Sure. And so I just did, and I just started making them. And my first round, I didn't take a lot of pictures. I took some pictures, but what I did was I made every single recipe and I tried every single recipe. Some of them were bad. My rule with doing these is if I mess up and it's not good, then it doesn't matter. I still did it. It counts. And when I finished, I just wanted to do another one. So I got the Elder Scrolls cookbook and I actually documented that in a tweet thread, and I worked through that one, and now I'm working through the Mother's Cookbook, which is an Earthbound-based cookbook,
wow.
and I'm a little over halfway through that, and I think once I'm done with that, I'm gonna do the Legends Cookbook, which is a Legend of Zelda cookbook. I don't know why I do this. I just love it. It's so fun, and I've gotten better at cooking. I'm a little above mediocre now.
I must say, Chef Red Bull Valentine, I'm so glad that you're here with us on the show. You are the perfect compliment for David Mandel. I brought David Mandel on because I thought he was a funny guy. Somehow we end up talking about 9/11 and Nazi swastikas. You are the perfect guest to bring us back into wholesome, family-friendly territory.
Comedy topics. Hey, Rebecca, there must be like a really wonderfully awful like Pac-Man cookbook from like 1983 that I feel like you need to find and like go through. It had to exist.
Oh gosh, the recipes are just like buy some cherries. Okay, you did it. That's what it is.
Make a cookie the shape of the Pac-Man, basically. That was
probably, yeah.
Sora Karai in the chat asks the question, Rebecca, do you live stream your cooking? And I'm going to add an extra question. If not, why not?
I do not currently live stream my cooking. It's mostly a technical challenge. I live in an apartment where my desk and my kitchen are not in a convenient location, and I don't have a lot of kitchen space.
Do you have a laptop?
I do. It's not good. All that said, I don't have anything to announce right now, but if you're interested in sort of audio cooking video game content, I might have something to say about that in a few months.
Wow. All right. Okay. Very exciting. I want to go to some of these images, Rebecca. You sent me some pictures of your favorite recipes that you've made from these various video game cookbooks. Now, let me ask you: are you monitoring the stream? Will you be able to see these images? Okay. All right. Yes. So I'm gonna put the first one up right now. This is some kind of delicious glazed ring cake with cherries on top. Tell me about this first one.
That is from the World of Warcraft cookbook. That is Graku's mincemeat fruit cake. I bought a new camera shortly before I got that. It's just a little point and shoot. It's nothing fancy. But I started kind of practicing. I'm not trying to get into food photography. I'm not doing this professionally in any way. But I was trying to find ways to make things that looked pretty. And this is a very holiday recipe. It's full of spices. I had to buy mincemeat from a can, like on Amazon, because they don't just sell that in the stores usually. And I like pulled some branches off some trees, and it had just snowed, and so I took that outside and got that gorgeous shot. It's got, I think that's a bourbon orange frosting on it, if I remember right. Oh, so good.
Did it taste as good as it looks? Because it looks delicious.
Yeah, it was really good. The thing that makes me kind of a mediocre chef is that I'm not patient. I will just rush through things. But cakes are really hard to rush through and get anything resembling a cake. You have to be very focused on them. And so I think my cakes, and I sent you some other photos of cakes too, I know. I think my cakes are usually my best work because they're so complicated. I have to slow down and focus.
I love how you put the holiday garnish around the edge here. Did you like raid your Christmas tree for this?
No, I just pulled some branches down from outside.
Let's go to this next one. Oh my God, this looks some kind of delicious white cake with berries on grapes on top. What's going on here?
This is the only photo that I sent you that wasn't from a cookbook. I went through a period between doing the World of Warcraft cookbook and the Elder Scrolls cookbook where I thought I was going to try to Breath of the Wild had just come out, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And I thought that I was going to do a blog where I tried to recreate recipes from Breath of the Wild. What I learned from that experience is that while I'm getting better at following directions, I'm getting very bad at coming up with my own recipes. So this is basically just, I think it's just a regular cake recipe from The Joy of Cooking, but I put fruit on it to look like the fruit cake from Breath of the Wild. But it was a really good cake, so...
The chat is losing its mind over some of these pictures. I think that you should do your own cookbook and come back and promote it on the show, the Chef Red Bull Valentine cookbook.
Gary, I sent you the best ones. I've done like something around 300 recipes now, and I sent you only the good photos and a couple ones.
I'm sure Jamie Oliver has made some crappy recipes too. He only puts the good ones in his books. It's not like there's not like Jamie Oliver, my biggest fails. He's not going to do a book like that. Let's look at this next one. What's going on here? These look like some delicious dumplings. What are these?
Those are, it's called Crunchy Spider Surprise. It's
Oh my
from
God.
the World of Warcraft cookbook. Obviously, we're not eating spiders here. So it's crab, because I guess crabs look kind of like spiders, but they're
I'm
basically
literally salivating right now.
they're so good. That's in the cooking process. It's these kind of crab, I guess like little crab balls or whatever, but you wrap them, the outside are wonton wrappers that you slice up and wrap around them, and then you fry them up. And I think the plating had you sort of skewer them on a stick, and those are really good. I haven't made them in a really long time.
Someone in the chat just said they kind of look like shumai. Reminds me of like those kind of great Chinese shumai dumplings that you can get. Was this
maybe.
imitation crab meat, or is this the real thing?
It's imitation, but you can do it with real meat.
I can't tell the difference. Look at what is this green cake? Looks like a perfect cake for like a summer picnic. Tell me about this one.
Oh, this one.
You've got it with some rosé here, paired with a nice rosé.
This is my crowning achievement, Gary. So this was the last recipe that I did in the World of Warcraft cookbook, the very, very last one. It is called Delicious Chocolate Cake. And it is chocolate because if you look at it in World of Warcraft, it says delicious chocolate cake, but it's a white cake with green frosting, which doesn't seem like a chocolate cake. So it is a white chocolate cake. And then one of the ingredients in the World of Warcraft, because you can make it, it comes from a recipe, is mage royal, which is like a flour. So what Monroe Castle did, who's just awesome. Like, she made a Game of Thrones cookbook, she made a Hearthstone cookbook. If you like any of that, she has an Overwatch cookbook. Like, get her stuff if you like video game cookbooks. She's so cool. But she did, the filling is raspberry and rose water. And then the frosting is a chocolate frosting or a white chocolate frosting, and then there's raspberries on top. This is the very last recipe I made in the World of Warcraft cookbook. I specifically did it to go out with a bang. I took so many pictures. I drank it with rosé, and then I'll plug my thing. My very first freelance piece that I ever got accepted outside of my work at Fansided was with PC Gamer, and it was about cooking my way through the entire World of Warcraft cookbook. It's something like I cooked all 100 recipes in the World of Warcraft cookbook and fell in love with the game again.
If one of my lovely assistants or mods can find that link, drop it into the chat. That we should link that.
There's more food photos in there too.
The cooking is on point. The photography is on point. Did this pair well with the rosé?
Yes, it did. It was great. Rosé and rosewater, great.
Yeah, that sounds like a good combo. What's this next one? Okay, now this is the first one where I'm like, okay, what is this? What's going on here?
That's mead.
That's mead? Is that alcoholic?
Yeah. Well, not yet. In that photo, it's not yet. That's from the Elder Scrolls cookbook.
Is it still kind of fermenting at this point?
Yeah, that's before I put the yeast in. So the Elder Scrolls cookbook has 4 different recipes for mead. I didn't pay attention to which one that was. I think that might be the those blackberries in it. I can't tell. But yeah, it's got 4 different recipes for mead. And apparently mead is very easy to make. You just basically need honey, hot water, and ale yeast. And a special little cork for the top of the jug, and you can just do it, and then you flavor it with whatever you want. I've made that cookbook had 4 different meads in it, and I've made all 4 of those, and then I've also made a couple of just my own ever since, because it's so easy. I'm almost done with the one that I have. I have one sitting on top of my fridge right now. I flavored it with dried rose, dried lavender, fresh blackberries, and I think that might have been it. I think it was
and how was it?
Oh, it's great. It's delicious. I love mead. It does. When you make it at home, it's very difficult to judge the alcohol content, so you have to be a little careful with it. But yeah, it's you can. It's pretty good.
All right, we've got 3 more here. I don't know what the next tab is as I tab into it, so it's a surprise to me as well. What is this? Is this some kind of looks almost like a potato and cabbage soup? What is this?
Almost apple cabbage soup. I just grabbed that one because I was trying to find the photos that looked nicer. But that one was I liked that one. That's another one from Elder Scrolls Cookbook. Because it was sort of a surprise how good it was. I didn't think that the idea of apple and cabbage stew would be good. But again, like, props to Chelsea Monroe Castle, who's a fantastic cookbook author. This was delicious. That's like fresh thyme or dried thyme. I don't know, something drizzled on top of it. It was a really, really good soup.
I think I would like it more if it was potatoes and not apples, but it does look very tasty. And now, what is going on here? Are these like, they look like cinnamon buns? They're glazed, drizzled in this beautiful glazing. What's going on here?
Oh, the Elder Scrolls fans should know this one. These are the quintessential sweet rolls from the Elder Scrolls a series, I guess, or Skyrim. I actually don't know what that's from, or which game that's from, because it's just become such an iconic like dish and line about stealing sweet rolls. It might be in more games besides Skyrim, but yeah, they're just these really lovely yeasty sweet rolls with just this big thick gloopy icing on top. I had to buy a special pan, like a mini bundt cake pan, to get those the right shape, but they're super. Everybody knows those. If you know the Elder Scrolls, you see those and you're like, yep, sweet rolls, that's it.
All right, last one. Oh my God, look these sliders. Tell me about these sliders. They look fantastic.
This is great. This is literally just the hamburger recipe from Earthbound. It's just hamburgers. I have eaten many hamburgers in my life. Hamburgers are really good. I have always been terrified of making my own burgers because I don't know, but everybody in my life always sort of made it sound like making burgers was this like really challenging or complicated or scary process. Turns out it's not. Turns out you can just like throw in some some salt and some pepper and some garlic powder, and sort of season them well and then turn them into burgers and grill them, and it's fine. But that's literally all those are. I toasted the buns. Oh, and then the pink sauce is deli sauce, again, also from Earthbound, which is like this weird ketchup mayonnaise hybrid, but it's so good.
Yeah, it looks kind of like the sauce that they put on the burgers at In-N-Out, which I love. That special sauce.
Oh, you know,
They
might
call
be
it
close.
spread. I always ask for extra onions, extra spread when I get a burger at In-N-Out, and that's kind of what it looks like.
We don't have In-N-Out here, but next time I'm out there, I might have to see how that compares.
These look delicious.
They're really good.
Oh my God. Okay, that's the last. As soon as I'm going to wrap this show up quick, so I'm going to eat some lunch. This is ridiculous.
Oh, I'm getting hungry now too.
Chef Rebekah Valentine, ace reporter, ace chef, ace photographer. You do it all. Let me ask, and one other thing. Just to bring this kind of cooking segment up to date. As early as this morning, you mentioned on Twitter that you are doing some very strange things with omelets. Tell me about that.
I have been eating omelets for breakfast most mornings, just because, inside trying to cook, I don't know. So for breakfast, like every other morning or so, I make a 2-egg omelet, and I just sort of fill it with. So before I was filling it with, kind of very standard things like cheese, onion, maybe like a vegetable, like some peppers or something. But as quarantine has sort of drifted onward, I have been adding more and more unusual ingredients to omelets. I started by just topping them with salsa, but then one time I had some guacamole and was like, does this go with omelets? And it does. Turns out guac and omelets, great. I have tried a multitude of different vegetables. I tried hummus inside an omelet the other day. That was actually not ideal. It was a little bit oozy. And then today I topped my omelet with raspberry jam.
Oh my God.
Good.
Really?
It was really good. Raspberry jam and pepper jack cheese. I don't know.
I cannot do the sweet and savory thing. When I first came to America, I love the idea of like sausage, bacon, eggs, and pancakes, but I always have to ask for the pancake to be on a separate plate because I can't have like the pancake syrup getting all up in the sausage and the bacon. That's just weird to me.
Best part, Gary.
No, I don't like it.
And actually, I know this wasn't on your topics list, but I had to mention to you because I should have mentioned it beforehand. Chicken and a biscuit crackers are my absolute favorite snack food in the entire world since I was a little girl.
Keep saying that, and maybe Nabisco will come through for us.
I used to, since I was like old enough to use the microwave, I have topped those suckers with this is like very like trash snack food, right? But I will just like put like 6 of them on a plate in a little square, and then I will top it perfectly. They're the perfect size when you put them in a square for a single slice of cheese, and then you put it in the microwave for like 20 seconds, just enough to melt the cheese, and then you eat them. And what you do is you take one cracker and you eat one bite, and then as you're chewing it, you take a little sip of milk, and it is so trash food, but it's so good.
It's killing me that I can't have chicken and a biscuit on my diet right now. I might have to introduce a cheat day or something. I actually got 4 boxes of chicken and a biscuit arriving today because poor Adam and poor Kate up there in prehistoric Canada, they don't have good stuff like that. I'm sending it up to them. David Mandel, I want to bring you back into the conversation. We've been talking to Rebekah a lot about food. I'm just going to ask you, so we're talking about omelets. If you're at the omelet bar, what are you telling that chef to toss in there? What's the ideal omelet for David Mandel?
Oh dear Lord. I'm very traditional. And very sort of, I guess at this point now, very Southern California. I would probably do like a lot of like veggies and onions and some salsa and that kind of a thing. Kind of like, I don't know what you call it, but that thing. But if I'm in New York City, preferably at somewhere like Barney Greengrass, it's salami and eggs, which is my absolute
Oh,
favorite.
that sounds good. That sounds good. My favorite, you get it at Mel's Diner out here. My favorite, they call it the hangover omelet, and it's basically an omelet, and it has chili inside it.
Oh,
my
yeah.
God.
Uh-huh.
The best. The best.
The best omelet I have ever had was at a place called Jimmy's Diner in Wichita, and they have a Monte Cristo omelet, and it has like ham and cheese in it, and it has like, I don't know, deep fried something inside it, and then I guess that's where the raspberry jam idea came from. Now that I think about it, it's topped with raspberry jam
I would just get
sugar.
I would just get a giant Monte Cristo sandwich and fold it inside a giant omelet. Like, why not
good.
just do that?
It's good.
Why not just do that? Rebekah Valentine, you've been an absolutely delightful guest, as have you, David Mandel. It's almost time to wrap up the show. And I got to say, I could not be happier. Apart from the swastikas and that stuff, I couldn't be happier with the way the show has gone. What a perfect way to wrap up our season 1. Before we do that, though, there is a little bit more business that we have to take care of. I am going to ask both of you to step up to the microphone in turn and tell a terrible joke. And I don't know if David or Rebekah, if you'd like to do the honors first, but let me know which one you would like to go first, and we'll get you up to the microphone.
Oh no. I should probably go first because oh no. I don't tell jokes.
I'm gonna drop the lights for you as well.
Oh no. Okay, hold on. This is no good. All right, what's a good joke telling outfit?
I don't know. What do you got?
All right, this is good.
Perfect.
Great.
Comedy wizard. Weave some comedy magic for us.
All right, so I don't actually tell jokes. I know 0 jokes, so I asked my friend Cam Koenig to help me learn a joke, and he told me a joke, and so this is his joke. So there's 2 men who are out in a desert, and they've been out there for a really long time, and they're starving, they're dehydrated, they're dying, and one of them sees a tree in the distance, and the tree's got these pink strips hanging from it. He starts going towards it, and the other guy's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he goes, "No, we got to go near that. That's a tree." And he's like, "No, you're just seeing mirages." But no, he keeps going because they got to stick together, and they keep walking. As they get closer to the tree, they start to smell bacon. And they get they think it's like a bacon tree, and so they get closer and closer. And right as they get to the bacon tree, somebody jumps out from behind it and kills them both. And the first man, with his dying breath, looks up and he says, "Oh, it wasn't a bacon tree; it was a ham bush."
All right. Okay.
That's all I got. Sorry.
I asked for a terrible joke. I got a terrible joke. Thank you very much, Rebekah, and putting it into the system right now.
The one you told me as an example was worse.
Oh, I always set the baseline as low as possible. David Mandel, your character is your little adorable in-game avatar is being maneuvered to the microphone as we speak. You are now in position. David, I'm just going to apologize ahead of time. No matter what joke you tell, no matter how funny, you're going to get destroyed in this poll because I feel like the Rebekah here is just has engendered so much goodwill on the show. You're gonna get squashed no matter what.
I'm okay with that, and also, I not to make excuses. I did not know I was going to be telling a terrible joke until you told me, like right before we were going on. But since we talked earlier about. We were talking about Johnny Carson. I think I mentioned Buddy Hackett, who I'm guessing most of your audience has never heard of. But I'm going to steal a joke from Buddy Hackett, and you can decide whether it's terrible or good, because he used to tell these great jokes on The Tonight Show with Carson. So this is my salute to that. And I'll do it as quick as I humanly can, which is a very sort of a-holy rich guy goes duck hunting in the country, and he shoots a duck, but the duck lands on the wrong side of a fence of a farmer's property. And the a-hole rich city guy decides to jump the fence and grab the duck. And he's about to grab it, and the farmer spots him and goes, "Hey, what are you doing? That's my duck now." And the rich guy from the city goes, No, it's my duck. I shot it." And the farmer says, "No, it landed on my property." And basically they go back and forth for a bit, and the farmer goes, "Look, I'll tell you what. We can play a game, and the winner gets the duck." And the rich guy's like, "Yeah, okay, fine." And the farmer says, "Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to kick you in the nuts as hard as I can. And then you're going to kick me in the nuts as hard as you can. And we're going to go back and forth. And whoever, taps out first, is the loser. And the other person gets the duck. And the rich guy goes, "Yeah, okay, fine." So the farmer kind of takes a running start and runs up to the rich guy and kicks him as hard as he can in the nuts. And the guy hits the ground, rolls around in pain and screams and is crying, and it's just the worst thing ever. And it takes like 15 minutes for him to recover, and he stands up and he goes, "Okay, my turn." And the farmer goes, "You know what? You win. Take the duck."
I like it. I knew where it was going, and I still love that joke. It's a classic. We're putting it up on the poll right now. Vote for your favorite joke. It's at the top. It's at the top of the chat. David Mandel, a comedy professional, Emmy-winning comedy legend, David Mandel versus Rebekah Valentine. Let's see where we are with this right now.
I'll surrender in advance.
Let's see where we are right now. Yeah, it looks like Rebekah's going to be adding this to her resume. Celebrity ace reporter, celebrity chef, and now celebrity having bested Emmy-winning comedy writers and directors live on Animal Talking. She's doing it all. What are you wearing right now, Rebekah? What are you wearing right now? What is that? What's going on here?
This is my cozy outfit.
I like it. I brought
a whole roster of outfits.
It is very cozy. The poll is closing, and yes, as anticipated, Rebekah Valentine has bested comedy legend David Mandel, 86 votes to 43, 67% to 33%, fully 2% of the vote. It's a landslide. Congratulations, Rebekah. Jolly well done.
Do you think it would have helped if I had more outfits?
Yeah, I think if we'd have hooked you up with a magic wand, you might have done better. You know what? Next time you come on the show, David, by then you'll be hooked up with a copy of Animal Crossing.
I'm not coming back unless I get like 5 outfits next time.
We will get you. You know what? We'll get you a wand. We'll get you 5 different costume changes. You will approve them all ahead of time. If you want to be a diva about it, that's fine. I deal with people like that on the show all the time. You won't be the first nor the last. David Mandel, Rebekah Valentine, thank you so much for joining us. If you have party poppers on you, I invite you now to find those, because we always blow off our little party poppers here at the end of the show. Let's see, I need to get this one over here. There it is. I'm going to hold that. Don't go anywhere, because we raid at the end of the show. That means we dump all of our audience into the stream of an unsuspecting Animal Crossing player who's streaming their channel to just a handful of viewers, and we love to do that. It's a very nice kind of wholesome treat that we do. Kate already seems to have found a very lovely person. She said she's chatty and kind and has a sleeping dog cam. That is exactly the kind of wholesome content we want here on Animal Talking.
Yes.
Don't go anywhere. We're going to roll credits and then we're going to raid. Just a reminder, this has been our season 1 finale, and I honestly could not be more pleased with the way it went. David Mandel, you were an absolute delight, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Thank you. And Rebekah, you are, of course, just, as always, a box of delights. Please come back on the show again soon. And
Gary, thank you so much.
When you inevitably have your own cookbook. Again, this is our season 1 finale. We're taking a break for a week. We will be back the first week in June with our biggest guests ever. On June 1st, Shaggy, Mr. Boombastic himself, will be here June 1st. He is recording new material in his studio right now that he will be performing on the show June 1st. And then 1 week later, June 8th, the legendary Sting. I'm not making this up. I promise you. I swear I'm not. Sting will be here live, and he will also be performing new material that he has put together himself, and will be debuting for the first time exclusively here on Animal Talking. There will be a tweet going out confirming this after the show. It's all real, I promise you. Animal Talking is going to the next level. It's pretty nutty, and I'm very excited about where we're going to be going in this second season of Animal Talking. Bigger and better in every way. Stand by for that Nabisco chicken and a biscuit. I'm telling you, it's coming. They're going to be calling as soon as I notice I've got a missed call already. That better be Nabisco. Very, very excited about the potential there. But for right now, it's been an incredible first season. To all of our guests, all the way back from Naomi Kyle, who was our very, very first guest, Kate Stark, who was one of our very first guests, everyone who has contributed to the success of this show, not least Adam Nickerson, not least Kate Stark, and of course my lovely wife and executive producer, Leah Witter, and all of our moderators, and everyone who's helped spread the word, everyone who has helped make this show the incredible, unexpected, viral success story that it has been. That is season 1. Season 2 is coming, bigger and better than ever before. I invite you all now to blow off dem party poppers. Let's get it started here. Thank you. We will be back very soon. Thank you. I'm your host, Gary Witter, for Animal Talking. See you next time.